Hello, my name is Jingonelli, and today I'm going to be taking you through Ugandan economy. But before I begin off, make sure you subscribe to the channel. It will bring you some good luck in your forthcoming exams. So, per the introduction, beginning off, we are going to be looking at the evolving nature of Ugandan economy, and then we shall later look at the other aspects such as the theoretical perspectives on economic growth. Then we shall look at the performance of the economy, and then lastly the structure of economy and its performance. So when you are to look at Ugandan economy, just briefly introducing it, it is meant to cover, that is the aspects I've looked at, that is the evolving nature of the Ugandan economy. The evolving nature of the Ugandan economy, and then we're having the theoretical perspectives of the or theoretical perspectives on economic growth and development, and then the performance of the economy, then the structure of the economy and its performance. So these are all going to be these are all going to be aspects that we are going to look at as individual subtopics in this topic. So starting off with the evolving nature of the Ugandan economy. So you may ask yourself, what is an economy? So an economy, you can define it as an economy is the circular flow of income and expenditure. So beginning off with the evolving nature of the Ugandan economy, I want you to note, if at all you have somewhere to note, you can note and say we are going to be looking at the pre-colonial times during the evolving during this if at all we are looking at the evolving nature of the Ugandan economy. We're going to be looking at the pre-colonial times, then we are going to be looking at during the colonial times, then we are going to look at the aspect of Idi Amin coming in to influence the Ugandan economy, that is in 1972. Then we are also going to look at the economy at independence, but this can be interchanged. So you can either put the economy at independence as your third point, and then you bring in Idi Amin as your fourth point. Then after that we shall be looking at Obote 2, and then lastly we shall be looking at NRM and its economic recovery program, which is still at present as of 2022. So what do you need to know? With the evolving nature, Uganda has always been an agrarian economy. So this means that Uganda itself, before even colonial rule, that is pre-colonial times, it has always been an economy evolving or operating on agriculture. So that is what I had looked at as one of the points that I had told you to note, that the pre-colonial times get to look at Uganda's economy as being an agrarian economy, meaning that they are based on agriculture, and this agriculture was mostly on a low scale, because the indigenous Ugandans, they were having they carried more of subsistence farming. So that is to do with the pre-colonial times, what was occurring. We are looking at the evolving nature of Uganda's economy. So before the colonial times, what was happening? And this is what I've talked about. The economy of Uganda was an agrarian economy. So looking at during the colonial times, so during the colonial rule, This is when the Ugandans were being colonized by the foreigners. So, taking on the Asians, during the colonial rule, the Asians involved in commerce, while the Africans, the indigenous Ugandans, were largely excluded from this trade. So the Ugandans were being excluded from wholesale trade, and there were policies during the colonial times. According to the colonial policy, licenses issued could only be given to traders who owned permanent buildings, thus excluding out the Ugandans who handled less than 10% of the national trade. So that is to do with some of the aspects to look at during the colonial times when the Ugandans were being colonized over by the foreigners. But this colonial policy made lots of Ugandans to feel out of place. So this is when Idi Amin in 1972. This is where he comes in to because he was discontented with what the Asians were doing, and due to his influence in this, it led to a huge cost on the on Ugandan's economy. So we are going to be looking at this later on. So here we are just hinting on Idi Amin. That's why I told you can either interchange Idi Amin to be your third point, or you can make this the fourth. So if I told you interchange, because the next one will be the economy at independence. So we get to see Idi Amin as somebody who comes in to influence or to cause an impact on Ugandan's economy, and his influence came in at a cost. So because Uganda celebrated its independence on the in 1962, Amin came in after the 1962 because he took over power in around 1970s. So with this, looking at the economy at independence, Uganda, the economy at independence, Uganda enjoyed a strong and stable economy in the years that were approaching independence. So at independence in 1962, the economy was small but promising in the sub-Saharan Africa. The total GDP was above 68 million US dollars, which is roughly that is 177 billion today in shillings. So after independence, we had a 10 years period which they called the Post-Independency Decade. That is from 1962 up to 1971. So this was a period considered to be a period of economic prosperity in Uganda, and it ended around the 1971, because that's when Idi Amin came in, and then he put the Ugandan's economy at a cost, as we are going to see later on. So they call that a post-independency period. Post-independence decade between 1962 to 1971. So it is that period after independence and before Idi Amin who had put the economy at a cost, as we are going to see. So here they are saying the post-independence decade was characterized by having an average annual real GDP which grew at 6% per annum. So this means with real GDP deals with the monetary value of goods and services, and if at all GDP grows above 5%, it will mean that the economy is doing well. So now we are having the real GDP per capita growth rate, which is at 3%. This is real GDP per capita means per individual. Then we are having the economic growth growing at an average of 4.5 per year. Then we are having a sound fiscal and monetary policy. So with sound fiscal and monetary policy, it means that when you're having a sound fiscal policy, it means that it deals with two aspects, that is taxes and government expenditure. So for you to have a sound fiscal policy, you will have more taxes, like the government will receive more taxes, that's its income, and then it will be incurring less of government expenditure, so its outflows will be less. So that is having a sound fiscal policy. And for monetary policy, there will be more money supply than the money demand. So money will be readily available to cater for the demand, because the money will be already there. So if at all you're having more of the money supply than the money demand, then you're having a sound monetary policy. Then we are having stable prices. For stable prices, inflation here never exceeded a single digit. In other words, it was less than 10%. Then we are having the balance of payments, which was in surplus. So this means that there were more exports than imports. Then looking at the stable exchange rate and foreign exchange, which were readily available, then GDP per capita was about US dollars 512, making Uganda's economy the fifth highest in Southern Africa, after South Africa, Zimbabwe, and then after South Africa, Zimbabwe, and those other countries. Then we are having the national saving rate was among the highest in the region. So there was the nation, there was a high rate of saving, which was estimated to be 13.4% of the GDP. So these guys used to save a lot. Then we are having exports accounted for 25% of GDP. This means that bringing in foreign exchange, meaning that the exports were bringing in foreign exchange money to finance a large portion of the country's import requirements. So that is it with the post-independence decade, which was seen as an economic prosperity. So that is with that. So this table was to be illustrated in class, just trying to indicate how the economy was experiencing its prosperity before things went astray. So by 1970, remember, Uganda had not yet been Idi Amin had not yet he had not yet come on board to rule over Uganda. So by 1970, Uganda was one of the emerging economies in the world, in the same league with countries such as Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, and other countries that have since taken off. So they are saying actually in 1971, Uganda was considered among those African countries with a chance of achieving a GDP growth rate of 7% for the rest of the century. So that is what was being assumed by 1971, because at the time in 1972, that is when Idi Amin came in and put the economy at a cost. So now we are going to be seeing what happened to these good old days, these 10 years period, what happened to them? So within that decade, that period of 10 years, we had the 1960s, which were widely regarded as the good old days among among Ugandans. So this was so because the general standards of living were relatively good and perhaps better than those lived by most Ugandans today. So this was on the account of low cost of living and high value the Ugandan shilling commanded then. So by then the Ugandan shilling had a lot of value. So the price of goods and services were low and stable. So you could get a kilo of sugar at 45 cents, soda at 65 cents, then black tea at 25 cents, etc. So they assume that a fresh graduate who earned 1,500 shillings was equal to 3.9 million in 2014. So that is to do with the good old days. So here they pose a question and they ask you, where did these rusty statistics go? Where you could buy a soda at 65 cents. So this was more so when Idi Amin came in, when he put the economy at a cost. So the economy started to deteriorate under the rule of President Idi Amin from 1971 to 1979. So his period was characterized by we are going to look at the 1972 economic war, that is with the Asians, and then we are also going to look at the gross mismanagement of the Ugandan economy. Make sure you subscribe so that you get a notification for the next chapter of gross mismanagement of Ugandan economy, because today we are going to stop at the 1972 economic war. So with this, they're saying in August 1972, Amin expelled Asians, over 70,000 of them. So Amin accused the Asians of the following offenses: that is, abuse of the foreign exchange regulations. So he accused the Asians that Asians used to export goods and services and kept the foreign exchange proceeds abroad. So after them exporting the goods, they kept those exchange proceeds abroad. So this included undervaluing of the exports and overvaluing of the imports. He also says they did hogging and smuggling of essential commodities like sugar, oil, creating artificial shortages in order to keep the prices unreasonably high. Then we are having undercutting African traders and unfair competition. So with this, the Asians were importers, at the same time they were wholesalers, at the same time they were retailers, all in one, and ensured that business remained entirely in Asian hands by practicing price discrimination among Ugandan traders. They did this by supplying their fellow Asians with goods at low prices than those they charged indigenous Ugandans. So you could see that there was a lot of undercutting to the African traders, which was unfair. It led to unfair competition among the Africans and the Asians. So I also say that the Asians were employing family members in their businesses, and they did not want to employ the Africans because they did not trust them. So there was also tax evasion, so which made the economy lose income. So says they carried out tax evasion, which made the economy lose its income, and he says they kept two different books of accounts, one for income taxes for the income tax department and another which showed the true and correct account of the business, but it was in Hindu, which Ugandan tax administrators did not understand. So through this, he says the Asians use this as a trick, and they used to pay less tax. So we are having practicing and spreading corruption. Asians believed that they could not get in any service in the government department, so without bribing. So they did a lot of he accuses them of practicing and spreading corruption. Then disloyalty to the country. So Amin assumed Asians of being ungrateful to Uganda even after all the opportunities that had been given to them or availed to them. So he assumed that after them achieving or getting training in medicine, engineering, law, they were really ungrateful. You could find that they could not complete, uh, they say here, and other professions, but on completion of the programs, many of them had either worked briefly for government or opted directly for private sector. So you would find that they are really, really ungrateful after the opportunities being exposed to them. That is by Amin's accusation. That's what he accused them of. So although although the Asians were expelled, the economy did not improve, but instead it put an end to Ugandans' post-independence prosperity. Remember that independence prosperity which was booming, whereby Uganda was even uh, categorized to be, that is by 1971. Uganda was being considered to have a chance of achieving a GDP growth rate of 7% for the rest of the century. But this did not occur because of President Idi Amin, who came in and put the economy at a cost. So what are some of the reasons? Why economy did not recover after the Asians were expelled? So we are having skilled managers were being replaced by largely unskilled people. So you would find that it was the military who had even little education that were taking up these jobs, or that became managers after the expulsion of the Asians. And still there was also the appropriation of their properties, and the country a long-lived reputation for lawfulness and prosperity, and property confiscation. So meaning that Uganda was having that reputation of them confiscating like foreigner the property of the foreigners. So that's why you would find that this could chase away maybe the investors that could later come in Uganda because of that fear. And then the manner in which former Asian businesses were acquired created insecurity of tenure, leading to asset stripping. For example, Kakira Sugar Factory lost 119 tractors. So these are some of the reasons, or the three main effects of the Asian expulsion that you can look at. So with that, we shall be going to gross mismanagement. So thank you so much for watching. Make sure you subscribe to the channel.